So it's Sunday, and it is time for my mental health vlog. And we're going to talk about a subject today that is sensitive, and that is the subject of rape. So if that is something that is triggering for you and you want to drop now, I will catch you next week. Okay, so I have a little group chat going with some of my friends from school. There are very few people from school that I still consider friends. School was not a great experience for me. And one of the people that I'm talking with who currently works at the school that I used to attend to, and I've talked to her about on this vlog before. I talked about her on this vlog before. How I love hearing how some of the things on the school have really progressed since I was there. And in the conversation today, we were kind of talking about there were things about her that we didn't know at the time, like who she lost her virginity to, and who I don't even remember who it was. They had to send me a picture, and just other things like that. And many people think that one of my best friends from back home, who is the only girl I've ever dated, and she and I are still wonderful friends now. I love her very, very much. Many people think that she was my first sexual experience, and she was not. Prior to my dating her, I had been talking to someone online on the AOL chat rooms, which were a huge detriment to my sex addiction. And a huge jettison to my sex addiction at such an early age. And someone from Atlanta, keep in mind I was living in Savannah at the time, someone from Atlanta had caught my attention, and he and I had been talking a lot. And he had been giving me a lot of attention, and I had been talking to him on the phone at night. Like, I would sneak on the phone and have calls with him. I would sometimes use the payphone at the Revco across the street from my school, which I think is a drugstore, or Walgreens now. Payphone, right? I would use him, and I would call collect and talk to him like after school and stuff. Like, I was sneaking around talking with him a lot. So much so I was convinced that I was in love, and I was 16, he was 39. One weekend he drove down to Savannah, and he got a hotel room, and called me, and we were actually in band practice, and I left right away. My director was pissed, but I left band practice to go to the hotel because I had to sneak around. And I got there, and when things started to escalate, I was not ready. And I had conveyed to him that I was not ready, and I did not want to move forward with what our plans were. Ultimately, I was made to feel as though I didn't really have a choice. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And we had sex. And I never heard from him again. I know his name. I know where he lived. I know how old he was. I have done nothing to ever track him down. Funny enough, his name was the exact same as my band director's at the time. So unfortunately, I will never forget it. I don't talk about this a lot. I was raised in such a way that if something is wrong, it's your fault. You did it. You did something, it's your fault. And that has stayed with me my entire life. I have had a perpetual guilty conscience, whether I've done anything wrong or not. And that has been hard to shake, but that was instilled in me at a very early age. If something's broken, if something's wrong, Jordan did it. It's Jordan's fault. What did Jordan do? So when this was happening, in my mind, I was convinced that I had no choice. I did this. I brought this on myself. Later that week, I was asked at the dinner table why I had a hickey on my neck. And I told my parents, because I was working at Kmart at the time, I told my parents that I was trying to get a box off the top shelf at the store, and it fell, and the corner of the box hit my neck right here. I don't know if they bought it, but that was a piece of shit lie. I spent most of my youth lying about things like that. I hate that. And looking back, I'm not sure if this was the ultimate catalyst, but the pinnacle of my sex addiction is focused around what I can feel by pleasing others, what validation I can get by using my body to bring joy or happiness or satisfaction or release to someone else. I very much believe that that could be traced back to that scenario, that situation. I have often felt, especially while I was acting out as a sex addict, that anything bad that happened to me was justified, was warranted. It was because I was such a horrible person and living a secret life. I would never admit that. And I would often spend countless hours trying to craft a story or a scenario or a situation where I didn't have to tell the full truth, or I could hide critical details, or even in situations where my ex would have pretty solid proof, but I would be really convincing in finding ways of telling him that that's not what happened. And whether I was good or not, he chose to believe that. So, after I had had this experience with this gentleman, I confided in someone who I felt, honestly, the only person I felt like I could trust. And that was my wonderful friend from back home, who I'm still very close with now. She's the one that animated my children's book. She and I have had a wonderful adult friendship. She and I had a wonderful childhood friendship with a very little burp in the middle, that came from a result of some of the actions that I did while she and I were dating. Because after I was raped, I did tell her that I had had sex. I don't think I told her that I was raped. I really don't think I ever phrased it that way, because in my mind, it was I caused it. So was it really rape? As an adult, looking back, absolutely. I was 16 years old. I was taken advantage of. I should have gone to the authorities. I should have talked to an adult. I wasn't able to talk to an adult. One of my friends pointed out today that she's like, I'm so sorry that I wasn't more aware and I couldn't help you more. And she felt really bad. And I told her, I'm like, you have zero things to apologize for. The people we were and the people that we have become are completely different. Kids are usually only focused about themselves. I am fully aware of that with the 11-year-old that I have, that I can't convince to think about anybody but himself. So I appreciated the fact that she was apologetic. Both of the friends I was talking to were apologetic, but I don't ever want anyone to feel bad for how they did something when they were kids. Kids are stupid, kids make mistakes, kids don't see the full picture, kids' brains aren't even fully developed yet. So, if you're one of those people that are sitting here that have known me for a while and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I never knew. Of course you didn't, but you have nothing to be sorry for. I have come to terms with the situation. It took me an enormous amount of work to understand that that was not my fault, and that so many other things were not my fault. I hate that word, fault. Whether it's someone's fault or not, a wrong thing has been done. And you have to accommodate for that. You have to account for that. You have to atone for that. So, I did tell this dear friend of mine, because she and I broke up when I told her that I had been cheating on her with men that I had been meeting online, which led to a very dark period in our relationship, which we both had to get through before we can have the wonderful friendship that we have now. But she is definitely someone that is on my amends list for someone that I hurt due to my addiction, even though I really didn't think of it as an addiction at that time. but those were that's where the roots of the addiction were spreading. So, and honestly, I think she was probably the first broken heart casualty, or someone that I had hurt by lying about sex. Whether it be lying about my sexuality, whether it be lying about sex in general, whether it be lying about sexual experience or conversations I'd been having, or there were lies, there were half-truths, there were secrets. And that followed me my entire life, because in any relationship I had after that, there were lies, there were half-truths, there were secrets. My current relationship, and I'm very proud of this, my current relationship is the only relationship I've ever had where there have been no lies, no secrets that weren't around like surprises or presents. I can openly communicate and talk about everything with him. He knows all of my secrets. Any of my secrets I can remember, he knows all of my secrets. I'm sure there's stuff out there that I've just buried and forgotten, and it'll surface at some point. People that have been raped have had something taken away from them, especially when it was their first time. And in this case, this was my first time. I remember wanting to talk about it because I was so excited to have lost my virginity, regardless of how it happened. Looking back, I was so foolish. And I put myself in real danger. Many, many times. That and many times after. I see young people coming into the SAA meetings on Wednesday night. And I'm always so happy for them. Because I've been in SAA a little over 4 years. November will be 5 years. And still working my steps. I am not quick, but I'm still working my steps. But I get so excited when I see the new younger members show up, because they're going to be dealing with this shit and figuring this shit out 15, 20, 30 years before I did. And I'm so happy that they are in a place and able to receive help and guidance. I wasn't able to receive help or guidance. I wasn't in a place where I could receive help and guidance. All I knew was that everything I felt was wrong. I went to a private Christian school, a very small private Christian school, where everyone knew everyone. Everyone's parents knew everyone. I don't know, I wasn't in a position where I could tell anybody anything that wouldn't have gotten back to someone or spread someone. There were already rumors that I had to deal with in high school, which were hard and uncomfortable and true, but I wasn't ready for the truth. It caused a lot of depression. It caused multiple suicide attempts. Never as severe as the suicide attempt that I almost didn't come back from as an adult. But I just knew that my entire existence was wrong. And it was hard to have any joy in life that was real when you just feel wrong. There is a lot of truth to the fact that last year was the first time I was ever able to say I love myself and mean it. I turned 45 this year. That's a long time to be unhappy. But I have worked hard on myself. I have worked my program and my group. I have worked my relationship. Everything takes work. I've worked my sobriety. I have worked to be able to be a sex positive, sexually active person with my partner and friends of ours without feeling the shame or the validation that I got from my addiction. So, I guess the point of this vlog that I want to make is, if you are or believe you have been a victim of sexual assault or rape, it's not your fault. Women have a really hard time with this, and I hate that for them. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you ask for, if those are the case. But when push comes to shove, no means no. And if the other party doesn't understand that, that's not your fault. It's not your fault. It has happened. You cannot control it. You can't change it. But you can control how you handle it, how you process it, how you deal with it, and how you move forward. Don't bury it like I did. Address it. Times are much different now than they were in the 90s. So if you have been a victim, I see you. I feel you. I love you. You don't need to go through it alone. Get yourself a therapist that can help you work through it. And make sure they're a good one that helps you realize that it's not your fault. All right, guys. This has been a lot to process, and this has been a really heavy subject. If I've left anything out, or if you have any questions, please feel free to put something in the comments, and if it's appropriate, I'll be sure to answer it and reach out. With that being said, check on your friends, make sure they're doing okay. Check on your loved ones, make sure they're doing okay. Check on yourself. I'm really glad I had this conversation today, because having the chat with my friends from school today brought up a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions that I very seldom deal with. It's one of those things where it's like I just tuck it away in a crevice somewhere, and it's not something I'll ever forget. It's something I'll know is always there. But I have to find a way to be a productive member of society and not let my past control my future. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Father's Day is next weekend. That's always a sensitive time for me. So we'll see how I feel next weekend. All right, guys.